So that went on for 2.5 years, and it sucked. There was times like I'd have to be taken by ambulance, and we'd have neighbors rushing up to us at 3 o'clock in the morning while ambulance was putting me on a stretcher. And they're like, "Oh my gosh, is Emmett dying?" No, he's just he's having issues right now with the IBD.
Like a little hash mark.
Yeah.
Number 6.
Exactly. And so
Emmett's wearing a shirt around school. I'm not dying.
Yeah.
Stop asking.
But it's hard because high school, obviously, for anyone who's gone through it, high school and college are nothing alike. I'm here right now. I'm not in college classes. Don't tell Eastern or anything that I'm skipping. But high school, it's every day. You're always missing classes, so the workload started piling up and up and up. And luckily, all teachers were perfect in handling it. They totally understood where I'm coming from. They knew that I was willing and wanting to work as hard as I could, because when you're dealing with this stuff, it's so easy to just have a negative outlook on life that you're just like, you know what, if this is gonna happen, screw it. I'm not gonna try in school. I'm just gonna.
It can snowball fast.
Yeah. Exactly.
Good morning, everyone. This is Jarrett Basson with Mark McCain, and you are listening to Triumph Every Day, where we discuss the journeys that shape the lives of our guests and how it brought them to where they are today. And we have the offspring of recent guest was Sarah Freeman. Emmet Freeman is our guest.
Hi, how you guys doing?
She talked a lot about her son. We talked a lot about her son's journey with just fitness, with health, with professionally where you're going. So we were like, we got to get him on here to tell his side of the story.
Yeah, he does exist.
You know what? One thing we didn't ask Sarah was embarrassing stories at Emmet that we could have really laid up.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm sure you got a couple. You don't mind sharing?
Yeah,
it'll be fine. So just to get everybody kind of up to speed, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you're doing, kind of. The 60-second version of Emmet.
Yeah. So originally I was born and raised in Lexington, Kentucky. Lived there through 4th grade. Then we moved to North Carolina for about 1.5 years. After that, we moved back up to Northern Kentucky for my dad's job, and been there ever since. And right now, I'm about to be a junior at Eastern Kentucky University, becoming a pilot. Well, I am a pilot now.
You are a pilot.
Yeah, I am a pilot, but majoring in professional flying, hoping to go to the airlines one day. That's the 20-second version.
Man, you're gonna be a junior?
Yeah.
This is the first thing I need to ask. You can't really tell in this screen that you're watching right now, but Emmett's 11 feet tall. So
yeah,
we've watched that happen.
I know.
I used to be taller than you.
Yeah. How do you fit in the cockpit?
So that's a question that I get a lot. You would be that, and do you play basketball?
Yeah.
And
what's your standard answer for both of those?
Yes.
No to the basketball. Although I'm probably going to start, just because I get asked so much, I'm going to start saying yes. And for fitting the cockpit, people always assume that it's this smallest space. But you
have more leg room than we do. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm scooted up, I'm like this, just so I can reach everything. So everyone's like, "Aren't you sticking your head out the window while you're flying?" I'm like, "No, I'm not."
All right, we'll get back to the flight stuff.
Yes.
I want to go a little bit deeper to that.
Sure.
So how long were you guys in North Carolina for?
We were there for 1.5 years. We ended up moving there because my dad transferred within his company. And so we were there for 1.5 years. It was, North Carolina is one of those places where it's beautiful, but I hope I never live there again, because where we lived there were 7 houses on a road. There was no kids my age. My best friend was a 35-year-old guy named Micah, and
tell us about that story. Yeah.
Well, he was.
I just started watching Making a Murderer. And I was my 43-year-old uncle told me to do this.
Yeah, no, but he taught me how to ride 4-wheelers and stuff that is fun. But I could have really used the whole kid aspect. I tried to get.
How long were you there for? Until what age?
Let's see here. It was, so we moved there at the end of 4th grade year and moved back to Kentucky midway through 6th grade.
Yeah, so that kind of young age where you're usually running around playing with a bunch of
right, exactly. Right when you're trying to get friends over, and it ends up that they're
Mikey can't sleep over.
yeah.
That's weird.
Well, yeah, and like they were like fresh and married and everything, and they're wanting to do their married stuff, and like I was like, Mom, I'm gonna go hang out with Mike. She's like, no, stay home. Like they have to do their adult things. I'm like, okay, but no, like I tried to get friends over, but like their moms were scared that we were gonna kidnap them and like take them across state borders.
You haven't lived here your whole life.
So it was hard to kind of swallow that pill, but moving here, then I started making friends and everything, and Northern Kentucky was a huge blessing. It ended up being so.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Very cool. What was the have you always just I want, like, some people are like, I want to be this in life.
Right.
Are you always, I want to be a pilot, or is it something that formed through, I know taking a trip, being from the Cincinnati area, going up to the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and the museum up there, it was just like, I've always loved flying, but I never thought I want to be a pilot.
Right.
But I just thought that was it was one of those things I remember going with my grandpa and be like, wow, this is really cool stuff. I don't know if there was a moment like that or if it was just something you've always been interested in.
Well, when I was younger, I told myself and I told my parents that I was going to be the quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks.
Very specific.
Right. Yeah, I had my Matt Hasselbeck jersey on, and I'd pass to myself and tell them that I was going to be a superstar. But, in reality, going through high school and everything, originally I wanted to do aeronautical engineering and be on the engineering and designing side of it. And then I was like, no, I don't. And so then I was like, you know what, I'll do the management side of aviation. And I was like, why would I go through that work? Let me just fly the airplanes. And so now, and finally I was like, you know what, I'm flying them. And so here I am today. But no, it's always been aviation. My dad was a helicopter pilot in the Army, and just throughout my whole life, there's always been airplanes in and out of my life. So I was just like, you know what, this has been such an instrumental part that why not just carry on the tradition? And so originally I did want to go the whole military route of it, but due to events that I'm sure we'll get to soon, that was unable to happen. But yeah.
Did you attempt to get into the Army, or is it just something I know that where I'm at health-wise, they're not going to let me?
Yeah, it was the whole health side of it.
Yeah.
I want to go Air Force, but I was like, no.
When did that those kind of issues with your health start to arise?
It was 8th grade. It was the Christmas break of 8th grade year is when we started seeing stuff. And originally we just went to our local doctor, and they're like, yeah, you ate something bad. So they put me on medication, which ended up making it even worse because they had no idea what it was. And so finally went to Children's Hospital, and we're like, you know what, these are our symptoms and everything. And they're like, okay, well, let's go put you into a small procedure. We're going to go look inside, see what's up. And so they did, and they came back, and as an 8th grader, I've been healthy all my life. Sports, baseball, soccer, swimming, you name it, I've done it, except for basketball. Never did basketball.
But you used to always not be this tall, so
right.
It wasn't like.
And so, they sat us down, well, we found that you have IBD, and being someone who had never had to deal with this, I was like, what is that? And so, in talking, we found out this is not some small thing. And
what does that stand for?
So it's irritable bowel disease. Most people know the IBS side of it. Yeah, the IBS side. So oh, you have IBS? No, I have IBD. Different stuff. But it's a diseased tracking your GI system, and it sucks. I'm just I won't even go to all of it. If you want to, you can look up what it's like.
Google that.
Yeah, you can Google that. But
maybe not at work.
Right. Yeah. But no. So it wasn't some small thing, but I made myself not realize that it was going to be as big, because I was like, no, they're not right. I'm a normal kid. I'm healthy and everything. I slowly found out that things were going to start changing. But yeah.
So you had this small procedure, which ended up down the road. You had a very large procedure.
Right.
Maybe go into a little bit of that, and I think for me, what I want to, because you have one of the best outlooks on life that I you're wildly optimistic. And for a lot of people, when they hear like, maybe what happened to you, it would be like, what was me, So be twofold, kind of maybe go in a little bit of depth of exactly what you had to go through, and then kind of maybe just what that's like emotionally as basically a kid.
Yeah, no,
because,
definitely.
Even as adults, where you have a little bit better coping skills, I think most people are not prepared to go through a lot of that stuff.
So everything started happening the middle of 8th grade year, and from there to about the end of sophomore year of high school, the doctors kept trying to put me on medicines, like I'm sure like there's like Humira and all that stuff, all those medications you see on TV for like commercials and everything. So they started putting me on those, and none of them would work. So it would be 2 weeks on the medicine, and then it would stop working. I would build immunity to it, and I would get back to having flares, and I would have to get hospitalized for 2.5 years. It was just nonstop, trying something, being hospitalized, trying something, being hospitalized. And this was happening during the school year too, so I was having to miss 2 to 3 weeks of school at a time being hospitalized and everything. And, in that early high school setting, that's not an easy thing to do, because everyone's, you're making friends, you're trying to just be young and everything before it's time to kind of grow up. But it ended up being that I had to grow up quickly. But, it is hard because while everyone seems to be like normal, and your outlook is, oh, like everything's wrong with me, but it seems like nothing's wrong with other people. You have people coming up to you like, oh, why'd you just miss 2 weeks of school and everything? And you don't want to admit to them that you were in the hospital and everything like that. It's an embarrassing thing when you're that age. So you just have to kind of give them the, oh, I was sick, it's all good and everything, I'll be fine. But then when it starts happening every couple of weeks, they're like, are you dying? I'm like, no, just don't worry about it. I'm taking care of it and everything. So that went on for 2.5 years, and it sucked. There was times like I'd have to be taken by ambulance, and we would have neighbors rushing up to us at 3:00 in the morning while ambulance was putting me on a stretcher. And they're like, oh my gosh, is Emmet dying? No, he's just having issues right now with the IBD.
Like a little hash mark, number 6.
Exactly. And so
Emmett's wearing a shirt around school. I'm not dying.
Yeah.
Stop asking.
But it's hard because high school, obviously for anyone who's gone through it, high school and college are nothing alike. I'm here right now. I'm not in college classes. Don't tell Eastern or anything that I'm skipping. But high school, it's every day. You're always missing classes, so the workload started piling up and up and up. And luckily, all teachers were perfect in handling it. They totally understood where I'm coming from. They knew that I was willing and wanting to like work as hard as I could, because when you're dealing with this stuff, it's so easy to just have a negative outlook on life that you're just like, you know what, if this is gonna happen, screw it. I'm not gonna try in school. I'm just gonna.
It can snowball fast.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, at no point was I ever like that. I was like, you know what, this is what God's giving me. I'm gonna do my best to be the best person, live the best life that I can with the circumstances that I have. And so, every time I would get back from the hospital, I would go to teachers like, okay, what do I have? What do I need to get done? And boom, 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 I would knock it out. And it ended up being that at the end of high school, I graduated with a 4.67 GPA. I was summa cum laude, like multiple honor societies and everything. But
I didn't think it went higher than 4.0.
Yeah. Well,
clearly I didn't have that.
Yeah.
C's getting
There's higher
higher.
than 3.0.
But so going back a little, after sophomore year, for 2.5 years, I've been just having everything fail. So it just seemed like, what, they were running out of medications, and like, well, we have these 2 more. They're experimental. They haven't really been, like tested as much and everything. I was like, you're gonna kill me. And so I was like,
we're either gonna have superpowers,
right. I was like,
That's how you got so tall.
Yeah, this is how Marvel movies start. And so I was like, give me other options. And they told me that there was this surgery. IBD is split up into 2 categories. You can either have ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease. Everyone knows Crohn's disease. No one knows ulcerative colitis. But the surgery, they said that, we can take out your colon if you have ulcerative colitis, which ulcerative colitis is when the IBD is strictly inside the colon and not the entire GI system. And so they told me, we're gonna go scope you one last time for right now, to officially determine whether or not you have ulcerative colitis, and if you do, we can go ahead with the surgery. And so, that's not a little thing. This is a matter of, are you going to get surgery and have pretty much everything fixed, or are you going to continually have to go down a path of having medicines and everything?
Yeah.
Right.
And so we went in, got scoped, and about 2 weeks later, they came back and they brought us into the room and they told us, you have ulcerative colitis. And we're like, whew, okay. So
it's a weird thing to be relieved about.
right, it is. Most people are not relieved that they're being told that they have a disease, but no, it was a huge stress off our shoulders. And so they're like, this is going to be a 3-part surgery over a course of 9 months, and it's not going to be easy. There's going to be a lot of stuff that goes into it, but at the end of it, you should come out like on top, and you'll be feeling better and everything. So I was on top of the world. I couldn't believe the news I was hearing. And so, went home and I was like, let's go, parents. We're going to fix this and everything. And they told us that if you want to progress through the surgery quicker, they were happy that, I was this tall, lanky, healthy guy and everything. And I was like, I can do better. And I'd been coming here to CrossFit and everything, in and out of being sick. Whenever I was able to, I would get in here, and I found out about surgery. I was like, I'm going to show them. And so went up to Coach Chris, and we're like, you know what, he's got these surgeries. We're going to put him in the best shape he can be in to get there. So for the next couple months before the surgery, it was 3-4 times a week just training with Coach Chris.
Getting your butt whooped. On purpose. In a good way.
Yeah, there was days where I wouldn't move because he would wreck me. But
he's evil. What?
Yeah, exactly. But no, so we go through 3 months of training, and it comes time for surgery day, and so we go in, and they look at me and they're like, dang, like you're looking healthy. And I was like, let's do this. So the first surgery happened middle of July, going into my junior year of high school, and it was I want to say it was like a 9-hour surgery or something, and this was my first time having surgery, mm-hmm. And so I have no idea what went on. I was just taking a nice little nap, but but woke up I think multiple hours later. I don't even remember the numbers anymore, but what the surgery entails is they take out your colon and they take your small intestine, and you have a colostomy bag on the side of you for 9 months. So for 16 years of my life, I'd only known how to do everything one way. Yeah. And I wake up and I look down at my stomach, I'm like, what the heck is that thing? Yeah. And so it was a huge life changer, because I was like, are you sure you guys can do this? Is this legal? and so, for the next 9 months, no matter what, I had a bag on me. I had my small intestine outside of me, attached to my stomach, but I still came in here and I trained and I trained and I trained. Mm-hmm. And they told me for the second surgery, which happened the beginning of December of my junior year, this is going to be the hardest surgery. It's going to take you 2 weeks to recover, and expect the worst. You're not going to eat for days. Living is it's gonna suck, but ultimately you'll come out on top. I took what they said. I was like, okay, I'll believe it, I guess, but I'll show you guys that you're wrong. And so I came in here still, and there was days when I just didn't want to, but I'd power it out. And Chris and I we would work my butt off. And so it came time for the surgery, and they went through it, and they said, you're not gonna be walking for almost a week. You're gonna be bedridden. And because of being in here and working my butt off, I was walking within 3 days. Yeah. And wow, they came in and they're like, why are you out of bed? And I'm like, oh, I'm up walking around. They're like, what? And they were about to call the nurses and get me. They're like, this guy's gone off the deep end. He's trying to get out. And I was like, no, guys, I can walk. And I start walking down the hallways, and my surgeon comes in and he goes, you are the fastest person to ever recover from the surgery that I've ever experienced. And he's been doing it for 20 years, like worldwide and everything. And this guy's big time, and he's like, this is the fastest I've ever seen someone recover from it. I don't know how you did it, but you've somehow managed to do it. And I was like, Triumph Strength and Conditioning. And so,
plug.
yep. And so, went through that. And then the third surgery came 6 weeks later in March. And it was the end of it. And I remember just leaving the hospital for the last time doing that. And I was like, Mom, like, this is over with. Like, we've gone through this for the past 4 years of just nonstop shit. And like the multiple ambulance trips, this like scares, the just everything that's gone into it, it's over. And so for the rest of junior year and senior
It's
year,
like the end of a horror movie.
Yes.
It's just like you made it through
Right.
with one survivor.
it was just like an absolute train wreck of events, and we're finally out on top of it. And never once did I was like, I'm going to give up. It's like the world's out to get me and everything. No, you can't have that outlook on life. You have to take what you're given, and you have to live your best life to do what you want and not let that stuff get you down.
How do you, maybe for people that are going through whatever situation, what kind of advice do you have for them?
What advice do I have to them? No matter what you're going through, it might feel like the world is crumbling down on you, and I know what that feels like. And right now, like, I've suppressed all the emotions of going through the stuff I went through in high school, and like I'm not like scared to admit it that like I'm talking to a therapist now, and like it's not good to suppress those things, and I'm slowly learning. But as cliche as it may sound, like, it's gonna get better. Like, no matter what you're going through, you have to believe, and you have yourself to work through it. No one else is going to get you through it, but you have to have the mentality that no matter what you're faced with, that you are going to do your best to come out on top of it, because ultimately people can assist you in trying to make you feel what you feel is what you feel, and it's your mentality, and if you want to work towards it, then you can do anything. There's no substitute anymore.
So what you're saying is it doesn't just fix itself.
Right. No, life does not fix itself.
Right.
Yeah.
It's much like this is.
Right.
So they laid the plan out for you. You're like, I just love that attitude, and it's an incredible story, man. I really appreciate you sharing that, being
absolutely.
vulnerable, and letting everyone hear that. It's absolutely inspirational. It's incredible being a small part of it, here, and it's been incredible to watch, man.
Yeah.
One of the I heard this the other day. I don't remember exactly what it was from, but they were talking about your circumstances are not your fault, but it is your responsibility,
Right.
to do your best to get out of
Right.
whatever situation you're in.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people do play that woe is me card, and there's numerous stories on either end of people who had everything and lost it,
Yep.
and people who had nothing and gained everything.
Right.
So it's really just about, I think, a lot of sheer willpower, and what are you willing to do to better your
Right.
situation.
Those woes me people. It's like gonna get you.
Yeah.
So maybe going back to some of the piloting stuff. What do you? Because for me, what it sounds like is you grew up very quick and learned a lot of really tough life lessons at a young age, which most people don't have the opportunity to do.
Right.
I think again, coming from your perspective, everything you've gone through was more of an opportunity than it was a detriment.
Yeah.
Because I look at you now, and you are far and well above where a lot of people are in their mental capabilities than they are when you're 35.
Right.
And like you said, you're talking to a therapist. Your mom actually mentioned something about it, like not a lot of that stuff didn't hit you until later on.
Yeah.
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 So maybe just talk a little bit about how going through a lot of stuff really early on in your life has prepared you for things like getting your pilot license.
Right. It going through it all was definitely a wake up call as to, life's gonna throw stuff at you, and it's your job to either
learning that at 16 is crazy. By
yeah,
the way.
yeah. And the thing is with my story, it's not the worst story. Everyone, like, there's people out there that have it off like much worse than me. Like, I'm blessed where I am and everything, but doesn't mean that I like haven't experienced hardships and I can't give my tell my story. But no, learning all that stuff at such a young age helped getting pilot's license, because getting into college, it's not high school. You don't have your teachers there going, okay, little Jimmy, you didn't do this math worksheet, I'll let you do it again. It's your job to get your stuff done, and that's how it is in aviation. And so it's like in aviation, the mentality is, if you want it, go do it, but no one's there to like help you along the way. Like, if you want help, you can get it, but no one's looking after you. It's your responsibility to do what you want to do. And so, like, coming into aviation like that, I had the mentality of, like, I am here for one job, and that's to become a pilot. And so, went through it, did all like the tests, did all the stage checks, the flying, getting up at 7:30 in the morning on a December day when it's 4 degrees outside, and you're like, I don't want to be here right now. And
7:30 is very early as a college student.
Oh,
I just
yeah.
want to throw that out there. I remember scheduling an 8 a.m. class.
Don't judge. That's early.
Monday,
Yeah.
Wednesday, Friday.
Yeah.
And it was like,
Right.
I'll make it there.
Yeah, I am still a college kid. Like, 7:30 sucks.
Yeah.
And but if you want it, then you're gonna go get it. And there's people that I know in the program where we're almost a year and a half into getting our licenses and everything, and there's a knowledge test that you're supposed to take, and they haven't done it yet, and they're like, oh, I'll start studying for it next week. Well, okay, it's been 6 months that you've been saying that.
Yeah.
And
You saw him at the bar last week. Or,
right, exactly.
Yeah.
And so there's those people, I hate to say it, but like, that's not going to get you anywhere in life.
I got news for you too. Sorry to jump in. You're going to meet a lot of those people in life.
Yeah.
Well, there's a correlation there
unfortunately,
between there and fitness in any aspect in life.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll do that next week.
Right.
Just do it. Get
Just
over
do it.
Yeah. I mean, we had a guy, literally, we had to hold up the start of this. There was a guy that walked in and seemed like a very, very nice guy. And, Jared was just like kind of probably laughing in your head, because we've seen some of these people come in and are like, I really want to do this. And we used to probably almost spend an hour with people whenever they would come in.
Right.
And anymore, it's like, all right, do it.
Yeah.
So it's just like literally almost to cut the conversation off. Like, you're not trying to be short with that person. And it's almost like your buddy that's saying hey, then do it. And almost every time you see him from here on out to college or whatever, it's like, hey, did you do the test yet?
Yeah.
All right.
Right. And even I like have myself to blame. I'm saying all this and everything, but in college, I get so caught up in classes and friends, love life, and everything that I found myself going throughout college, and I'm like, working out and everything was a huge instrumental part of my life, and I've slowly like realized, oh crap, like I haven't been to the gym in a long time, and so it's something that I'm still working on. Like,
sure.
Also, I seem like I have all this like wisdom and everything, but I got stuff to work on myself. I'm still learning to motivate myself to, like, what? Am I going to sit here and watch the Patriots game and eat a bag of Doritos?
Well, there's your first problem.
Right. Listen, I'm a Bengals fan. It's just, that was the last game I watched. But you gotta. I'm still learning to motivate myself.
Well, here's
Yeah.
the thing,
We all
man,
are.
is you have 100% effort that you can give in one particular day, right? And it's really just prioritizing. Like, what do we went to the ocean conference, and he's talking about, he's like, man, I get home from work and I'm just so tired, and my son comes up to me and says, Dad, I want to kick the soccer ball around. And he's like, I just don't have any time. And he's like, that's fine. He's like, just next time your son asks you, tell him that he's not important.
Yeah.
And it's just about prioritizing, right?
Right.
And perspective, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's one of those things where your priorities right now are very defined, and you have a very like huge goal of, I want to be the best pilot that has ever been.
Right.
And so therefore things like your health and things like that may fall to the wayside. Now, the reality is, can you never pick those up again? Absolutely not. You just have to reprioritize somewhere.
Absolutely.
You know, I think that's where a lot of people just get stuck with like, well, I just can't. And I was like, yeah, you can't. You just have to reprioritize. It's just what is important, you know.
You know, you were about to go through those surgeries. Health and fitness was very important, and guess what you did? You're like, oh, that just shot up the ladder to number one, and now I have a goal to, you know, prove these doctors wrong, and you took full advantage of that. And obviously, you know what you're about to embark on with, you know, being a professional pilot, you know, traveling so much, and sitting down a lot, and being taller, and so health and fitness will probably shoot back up the ladder and be like, okay, if I'm going to have a long-term healthy body, you know, career, all these things. And I think that's what a lot of people do, you know, with health and fitness, or you name it. They let it go by the wayside and let it go, and then they build it up and build up. Like, I can never get back into this. Like, oh, I can't even do a push-up or whatever it is. And it's just, you got to start where you start.
Right.
So right now, whatever you're going through, and like whatever, and like, oh well, I won't be where I was. Probably not. But guess what? You start where you start, and then you will eventually get back there, and you'll exceed that person.
Right. What does getting a pilot license look like? Like what all is involved with that?
So, I don't know if any pilots are listening or anything.
I've seen Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah. So what it entails is, so I just got my private pilot's certificate. You know, that's a huge thing in aviation. They're like, it's not a license, it's a certificate. Call whatever. But
can you fly by yourself?
Oh yeah, I can take you guys up now.
Yes.
All right, podcast over.
Yeah. But
you fly your plane here.
Yeah, it consists of 40 hours total. There's a certain there's a checklist of how many hours you need of flight training, cross country time. But you know, like I don't want to knock on any majors, because everyone's important. But you know, there's some people stuck in you know music appreciation. I'm taking that. I don't go, but like there's people stuck in that class, and there's people like me who get to go out to the airport at 9:30 in the morning, get in an airplane, fly to Louisville, and then fly back, and that's my classroom. So you know, I'm very blessed on life, being up in the air. You know, like I was going to solo my first time ever, and my instructor hops out of the airplane, and you know, the engine's going, you can't hear anything. He tells me to take off my headset. He just looks at me and he goes, listen, once you're up in the air, you're the only one who can get yourself down, so don't die. And I was like, I mean, that's one way to look at it. So but no, it took about 45 hours to get my license, just to stay current and everything. But you know, you have to take a knowledge test consisting of like 60 questions. You have like 2 hours to do it, but they like pull questions from like a 1,200 question word bank. So for 2 weeks, I literally had an app. I went through.
How many questions is it?
1,200 questions.
No, but how many did they ask you?
60.
Oh my god!
And so I memorized all 1,200 questions to the point where I wouldn't even read the questions. I would recognize the answers and just click through it.
Forgot how to tie a shoe because he memorized everything.
Yeah.
Pushed everything else out.
But so that sucked. But I got through it, passed it, and everything. And then the check ride. You know, when some people take tests, there's the bar exam. There's other exams. I don't know what they're called. But you know, to get my pilot's certificate, it consisted of sitting down with the DPE, who's like the examiner for me, and there's a oral part and the actual flying part. So for an hour, he literally went through everything of like I need to know as a private pilot. He like asked me questions. So like
I'm just thinking of the like air version of a driver's test.
Yeah.
Just with the check mark.
Yeah, and instead of like them asking like what's
blinker horn, it's all of the
right.
Yeah, and like instead of like what's this red octagonal stop sign, they're like, okay, here's a sectional map. What's this thing? You're like, this is a airport with Class D airspace. You can refuel here. They have a rotating beacon. The runway is 5,300 feet long. Just all this stuff, and you have to be able to just know it off the top of your head.
I failed.
Yeah, and so like that's for, you know, some of them last an hour, some of them last 3 hours, and so after that, depending on how long it goes, they're like, okay, pre-flight the airplane, we're going flying now. And so you have to demonstrate all the maneuvers, all the special takeoffs and landing and everything. So I started about 9 o'clock and ended at about 1:30.
True.
Yeah. And as long as it may seem, I felt like I was doing it for 45 minutes. It just...
Is there a break for orange slices somewhere in there?
He gave me like a 10-minute break, and I was like, I'm going to go eat my goldfish.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but, you know, that, like, it doesn't seem like a lot, but, you know, ultimately...
Well, it sounds like a tremendous amount, honestly. I mean,
Yeah.
and again, to give some perspective, you're doing this at an age where, you know, you're... for most people in their college experience are looking at, you know, dollar pitchers.
Oh,
and, you know, not that I have an idea what that's like. Ours were quarter.
Right.
So,
and like, you know, it sounds, well, it may not sound cool to some people, but to me it sounds freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Because like getting to fly airplanes in college, but it comes at a cost. It is not a cheap thing to do, but it's worth it. Pays off in the end.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
sure.
I mean, you know, I think anything worth doing, you know, obviously you're either, whether it's monetary or whether it's just time oriented, like you're going to have some big sacrifices.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and again, you know, it's like one of those things where you I think, again, going back to what we talked about earlier, you have this perspective that a lot of people don't have because you went through such, I don't say traumatic, but it's not the right word, but really big life events that are going to shape who you are. And it's like, well, okay, if I want something, I'm going to have to go after it, and it's going to take a lot to do.
I mean, you guys know how that is too. Opening up the gym, you know, you took it over from Matt.
Well, specifically too, talking about a generation where everyone considers,
right,
you know, your whole generation just lazy, and that's
right,
obviously not true.
Right.
You know, like there's people out there doing these very, very difficult tasks and very time consuming and energy and emotionally consuming, you know, professions.
Yeah.
You know, being a pilot is you know, from what I understand, is just one of the most taxing that you can possibly do. You are handling hundreds of people's lives at any given time.
Yeah.
I'm interested. Quick question on perspective about how have you seen? You know, have you seen any changes from now you're up in the air more? Like you said, like I have a new perspective when I'm up in the air and maybe looking down on, you know, whatever state or whatever you're flying over at the time. How's that carried over in just everyday life? Do you look at things different?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. So one of the great things about flying, at least for me, everyone's different, but you know, everyone goes through their trials and tribulations in everyday life. You know, like you can have a roommate piss you off, or you know, you did bad on a test or whatever, and down on the ground, sometimes I let it get to me, like, oh, I could have, you know, gotten those 3 questions I thought were correct if I just not changed my answer. You know, I could have handled the situation with like my roommate different, but you know, you let all those things affect you on the ground. But as soon as you get into an airplane, your mind is on aviation and aviation only, and so you just kind of like your problems stay on the ground when you're up in the air. And so like, I don't know, this is gonna get very poetic of me right here, but you know, like when I'm flying, like I'm looking down like at the ground, like, you know, I kind of like looking over top of like all my problems that are like down there, and it just kind of gives me that like clear, concise mind of like just.
It's funny you say that. Anytime I'm ever in an airplane, I always just think about like, oh, none of this stuff really matters. Yeah. Like, especially you fly over other states, you're flying over, you know, mountain ranges and things like that, and you're like you were mad at that guy for that reason. Yeah. Like it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. You know, it's just it's funny right now. Today's election day. This will post a little bit later after that, but it's just one of those things where it's like everybody's just in such a tizzy about you know these elections, and it's like when you're up there and you're a couple thousand feet above everything, like, oh, this really matters. Right. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Aviation does wonders for you mentally. It's just it makes you just clear headed.
Very cool. That's good. Where do you want to go in the long run?
So after I get everything done at Eastern and get my hours, my goal is to start out regional airliner. Like PSA is where I'd most like to go. And then as I just build time and just as I keep going, like to move up to the major air carriers, Delta, American, United, all of those. Because
do you want to fly one of those like big behemoth
boys?
Yeah,
the big boys. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I want to do that. But like I also want to like stay small too, because it's so easy to like you hear about pilots that like hate their job because they're like, oh, like I gotta go fly here and everything. But like my goal is to never get tired, because it's like the old saying goes, like if you're doing what you love, you never work a day in your life. And like that's the mentality that like I want to keep. And so while going to like airlines and to like I also want to explore the different parts of aviation, because it's so easy to just get caught up in one aspect of aviation, but aviation is everywhere in the world.
Most people think of it as like flying commercially.
Right.
There's a lot
Yeah. They're
more
like, oh, UPS or Delta. Like you're either flying cargo or you're flying people. But
Right.
there is so much more. Like I know people who fly like little Cessna 208s, and they fly them in between the islands of the Bahamas, just taking packages to people and stuff. So they literally just wake up.
Like a mail carrier?
Yeah.
Put it over in the air?
But just like, it's a small little
Do you
8-seater
land,
airplane.
or you just shove it out
Yeah,
the window?
you just like, you land on like this nice little bumpy runway that hasn't been tended to in 36 years. And like, but just the fact that, you could wake up on the coast of Florida and just go to the airport and then fly around the Bahamas, like, who wouldn't want to do that?
Yeah, right? Sounds pretty glorious.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you have your, just being in the photography world, your kind of pilots who take up photographers.
Oh, yeah.
Shots.
My flight instructor did that. He had a job where he would fly up to New York in the fall last year, and he would take up a photographer to capture everything up there. But
That's very cool.
Endless opportunities.
Well, that's very awesome, man. And I know your mom and your dad can't speak highly enough of you. Like just as a secondary, Mark, myself, and Coach Chris specifically, just we've watched you grow as a young man. Getting through some really tough times, and it's been pretty awesome to see updates where you're taking your mom up on in her flight and stuff like that, which I'm sure is terrible. My mom, even when she drives me today, she's hitting an imaginary brake through the floor.
Right. Right.
Like I've been doing this for a while now.
Yeah.
But like I'm sure it's probably just as nerve-wracking taking your.
I'm excited to get to take like my parents up, friends up. That's what it's all about. Like I've had my experience in an airplane, but the other people in my life have not got that experience of flying in a smaller airplane, and that's what I want to give them. So.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So one little question before we head out. It's just a very simple one. It's just what is your definition of success?
My definition of success, to a lot of people, it's let's see how much money I can make by the time I retire. But success for me is by the time, it's time for me to start dialing back in my life. I've just done what I love. Like money doesn't matter to me. I just want to make sure that I'm happy, I'm in a good place in life, and that I've taken care of all the people around me that matter the most to me. So that would be my definition of success.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for sharing your
Absolutely. Thanks for
story.
having me, guys.
I really appreciate it. Thank you all for listening today. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, and everywhere your favorite podcasts are found. You can find us at triumphstrength.net, on Instagram at triumphstrength, and Facebook at facebook.com/triumphstrength. Thanks again, guys.
Absolutely.
So, man, I got this new business